As She Told Me, a podcast featuring ordinary women who have overcome and done extraordinary things. I'm your host, Farrah Haidar. Joining me today is Victoria Wolfe. Victoria is an award-winning graphic designer who owns Wolfe Design and Marketing, which now focuses on designing covers and interiors for self-published authors. After losing a business they had put their heart and soul into, Victoria and her husband, Rich, decided to sell everything and explore the country in an RV. She and Rich create cooking and RV lifestyle videos via their YouTube channel and website, GF Explorers. Victoria, it's great to have you on here. I have to say I'm a little envious, especially when you just told me that the business that shut down was a gluten-free bakery, which is what I do. Because there are so many times when I just want to hit the eject button, sell everything, and just wander. I think like you, I'm a creative, and in our hyper busy lifestyle, I really find it hard to build time in for that creative, exploratory time. So I'm really curious about how this all started. You had a business, and what happened?
Well, we had started, I'll go back a little further. Rich and I got together in 2013, and I've been gluten-free since '07 and dairy-free almost the entire time as well.
Wow.
And we both love to cook. We've been cooking since we were 9. And he took it as a, personal challenge to make all of his favorite dishes gluten and dairy-free because he wanted to support, my life,
Yeah.
And when it came to pizza, he's like, well, what are my gluten-free options? And I'm like, none of them are good. You're going to hate them all. And he did hate them all. And so he's like, hey, let's make our own pizza crust. And I'm like, no, I've gone all this time. I'm not getting into 5,000 flours and xanthan gum and all this stuff. I said, no, I refuse. And he's like, come on, it'll be fun. So I agreed. And we started research and development of a pizza crust. And to our surprise, we came up with a pizza crust recipe that was so good, our non-gluten-free friends it blew them away.
Wow.
And so we decided, because, why not? Let's start a food business because it's easy. And so we started in 2015, very small. Rich was working for a restaurant supplier at the time. So he had a lot of contacts, and he'd been in food his whole career. And so he started getting restaurants one after another in Denver that would be selling our gluten-free pizza crust. And then one day he's like, hey, let's go to the Pizza Expo out in Las Vegas. I'm like, okay, yeah, we're in the business now. And then he's like, hey, they have a gluten-free division, a competition, World's Best Pizza. You want to enter? And I'm like, sure, why not? So long story short, we went, we entered, we won World's Best Gluten-Free Pizza in 2016, and we were kind of on our way. Oh. And so fast forward about 5 years, we had grown. We were in 4 or 5 different states. I don't know, hundreds, I can't even remember, 100-something locations of grocery stores. We were in almost every restaurant in Denver. Looking at scaling a food business is very, very difficult. We had some investors that didn't go well. We weren't able to go in the direction we need to. And then actually it's coming up on Friday. Tomorrow is the 3-year anniversary of the day I had to send out the notice that the business was closed. It was Victoria's Gluten-Free Kitchen. It was devastating. And it was, we worked so hard for 5 years. And I was also doing my marketing company at the same time. So I was working 2 full-time jobs for 5 years. And for it to go away was horrible. But then COVID came, and I almost feel responsible for COVID because on February 3rd, before it really started hitting, I said, you know what? I just want to hide for 3 months. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to talk to anybody. I've got to process this. And then we had COVID, and I did not go anywhere for 3 or 4 months.
So and you were applauded for it. Nobody asked, are you crazy? You were applauded for it.
Yeah. And I think it made it easier. It made it a little bit easier transition, not having to go out and live my normal life and have to deal with that loss. So I'm kind of thankful for it.
Yeah, just as someone who's in the food business as well, I can totally relate. It is a tough business, and to put your heart and soul into it and then close it down is just devastating. So you're there, you close it down, you're like, I want to hide for 3 months. Although I will have to tell you, by the way, direct to consumer really exploded during COVID. So there was that.
Yes, and that would have been, everybody's like, well, you wouldn't have made it anyways. I'm like, oh no, we would have. We had an online portion of the business that was really just starting to take off, and we would have you would have been fine. But,
Yeah.
that's water under the bridge.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that more offline. But
Okay.
so you're there. You're like, I want to hide for 3 months, right? But I'm assuming at this time you weren't living in the RV. You were living
In a
still at a
house.
home. So how does that come up? Hey, let's just sell everything and go to an RV. Like,
That's an interesting question. Now, previous to that, I've had no RV experience whatsoever. I just want to state that I don't camp, I didn't do anything. But Rich, in a previous relationship, he full time RV'd for a couple years. He really liked it, but he liked it. He would have wanted to do it again. And so we had gone to an RV show, I think the year before, so I could actually see and step into RVs because I never had. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I have always wanted to live full time in an RV, even though I've never been in an RV. It's
mm-hmm,
just one of those weird things. And and so we looked at each other. We're kind of the people that we need a goal, we need a big dream. And so we were in pain, trying to deal with that. And we're like, you know what? That's what we're going to do. Nothing is keeping us in Denver because our son was going to graduate from high school in about 2 years about a year actually. And it's like, there's nothing keeping us here. We're young, enough to do this.
mm-hmm,
Let's do it now. So we set the goal and we had 2 years to plan and get ready. And I think that's really what helped us. There's a lot of different things that helped us with the grief of that business, but having that goal was really important. And at the same time, we had to rebuild my marketing company. Rich came into the company, started working in it. And so we had to rebuild it since I had kind of scaled back running the two
sure.
businesses. So we had a lot to do in 2 years. And it was a good feeling knowing that there was something, down the line that would kind of make up for losing the business, make our lives whole again, however you want to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So we had nothing to lose, and it's kind of the people we are. Hey, let's start a gluten-free, company. Hey, let's live full time in an RV. Yeah, we kind of do those things.
I can relate to that. And my husband used to tell me all the time, like, one of his big, big dreams is to cross the U.S. in an RV. And then he watched the movie RV, and there's that scene, that movie with,
From McDormand, yeah, Francis, yeah, I think I know what you
no,
know.
no, 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 no. My God, he's dead now. Famous comedian. How can I forget his name? Did Mindy and Mork? You would know this because I think
Oh,
you're on the.
Oh, yes, that one, the Robin. Yes, I remember
The
that one. I
Robin
forget.
Williams, thank you. Oh my God, what a brain!
Yeah,
But Robin Williams, where the art, like he's doing the toilet thing in the RV and it sprays all over him, and that was it. My husband was like, "That's it, I'm done." I'm like, "Really? It's a movie," But he was
it's
like,
not
"No,
like that at all.
no, did not like that." So, so you have never done this before. You've never lived in an RV. So
No.
explain to us a little bit about the process. Like, what have you learned from living in an RV? Like, what's the benefits? What's the downside?
What I've learned is quite a long list, and you don't just learn procedural stuff, how to live in an RV. You also learn a lot about yourself. You learn about, whether you like change, whether you can pivot quickly, and how you handle things that pop up just because you live in an RV.
Mm-hmm.
I want to state that we do not live in a small RV. We are not roughing it. We aren't even glamping. We are our whole goal was to live in an RV, but the RV needed to live like a house, not live like an RV. And so
Okay.
we are in a 43-foot fifth wheel, and you can see the RV is what I'm in right now, and it's behind me. We have a fireplace, we have a washer and dryer, we have a dishwasher, we have a huge kitchen because obviously we do cooking videos. We are not skimping, we are not, roughing it in any way, shape, or form. It feels like we're living in a small apartment, and I I was pretty sure I could live in 400 square feet. We went from 2,400 square foot house to 400 square feet. And part of the business, we were driving to Iowa and Nebraska every 3 or 4 weeks for like 2 years, delivering product and stuff. And so we had that adventure, and we would stay in hotels. But it was a little delivery van. I could only take a little bit with me. I couldn't take the big suitcase because I'm an
Mm-hmm.
overpacker. So I
So,
kind of got a little experience that way. And I knew that I loved doing that. But the one thing I didn't like is I didn't have all my stuff with me as we were traveling.
yeah,
And so I realized living in an RV is the best way to travel because you get to see all these different places, but all your stuff is with you at all times. And
yeah,
that's kind of like one of my things. I need my stuff. I need all of my makeup and all of my hair stuff and the food that I eat. Because eating for me is difficult and
sure.
traveling. And so once that was there, it's like everything is just easy to do because we're just traveling around. And the maintenance of an RV, yes, there's a lot of maintenance. Rich handles almost all of that. There's, every time you get somewhere, you got to hook up the water, hook up the sewer, hook up the electric. You can see things behind me are on tables and shelves. That all has to be put away and then put back out. So I mean, there is some work involved with living in an RV and traveling, but for me, it's not. I love every minute of it. It's been wonderful.
So, okay, so that was going to be one of my next questions, which is like, how difficult is it to move this RV around?
It's Rich. Rich drives it. I don't drive. He is quite amazing with it. I mean, you have to be thoughtful and careful and check and double check and triple check, which we have. We have a plan for when we move, how to break down, and once we get there, how to set up. There are some places we can't go because we're long. We have a 350 dually that pulls the fifth wheel.
Yeah.
So I think total length when we're hooked up is like 60 something feet. I mean, we're
Oh,
not
wow.
short,
Yeah.
and 13.3 high. So, you just have to go to certain parks. Not every park can handle us. But once you do it and you get into the process, it's really no big deal. And there's other ways to RV that aren't a fifth wheel. Like you could do a Class A, which has a little bit less breakdown and setup, a little bit easier. You could do a C, which is a kind of a smaller A sort of, and then there's a B, which is like a van. So you can choose. That's what's great. It's like, well, if you don't want to break down and set up so much, don't get a fifth wheel. Go get a drivable like an A, a B, or a C. So depending on what your needs or desires are, I think you could find an RV that you could full time in, and people full time in
Wow.
travel trailers too, which has a little bit less, breakdown and setup, especially because there's no hitch, no, well, there's a hitch, but it's a bumper pull, not a actual hitch. But
So,
yeah.
do you have any like wild stories, like people you've met, or because for me, like one of the things that freaks me out is like, and it shouldn't probably, but it's like, it seems so close to other people and to like anybody can walk in and like just I don't know. That's what freaks me out about it.
Well, it can be. It depends what park. We stay in parks. We don't do any what's called boondocking, where you go out in the middle of nowhere and you don't have any services and you just live off your batteries or your solar if you have solar. We don't do that because we work. We need internet access. And usually that you're going to get better internet access closer to cities. And then we like cities. We like to go out and do things. Some sites have been so close that you feel a little claustrophobic, but that fewer and far between for us in our experience. Most sites have a decent amount of space. The one thing that really surprised me, one of the first places we went last year in was outside of Detroit. Rich is from Detroit, so we were there for a couple months visiting family and stuff. And this is my favorite campground to date, called Camp Dearborn, and they get a lot of weekenders.
Okay.
So they come in on Friday, they leave on Sunday, so the place fills up every weekend.
Hmm.
And I never realized what it's like to be in a park like that. You're sitting outside, because we sit outside a lot. That's outdoor space. That's not included in the 400 square feet.
Yeah.
And then everybody else is outside. And I had no idea I was going to be watching, which you can't help but watch, everybody's there. Everybody enjoy their vacation or their weekend. It's like everybody lives their lives outside, the weekenders do, of their
Yeah.
RV. And it's just so weird because you live in a neighborhood, everybody's almost inside living
Yeah.
their lives. But on those weekends, I'm watching everybody, and it's so cool to watch them with their families and having fun. And because we're full time, it's we're not like partying every single day, or
Yeah.
we just have a normal life. But that was really really cool. And we were in one place in St. Mary's, Georgia, which we absolutely love the area. We were really, really close, but it never felt too close. And
Yeah.
I never felt like people were invading my space. You have a certain amount of space around your site, and so you live with that. And I never feel unsafe. It's all a very warm and welcoming community. The RV community is,
Wow.
and that's one of the things that I'm very happy about. And yeah, I always feel good in a park.
Yeah, it's lovely. I mean, I think it's something that eventually I would at least like to take a trip in an RV, because I agree. And I actually think like a lot of people think maybe kids aren't great for. I'm like, what better way to travel with children than having like full capabilities, and you're able to, just you have everything for them, right? Versus when you're traveling in a hotel, you're like crimped up and
Yeah, it's expensive, and so you can cook, you have facilities, it's less expensive if you're doing a trip than hotel rooms, and you can easily rent RVs all over the country. There's private renter people who rent their RVs out, and then there's companies that do it. But it is a great way to kind of test the waters to see how you're going to like it or not like it, possibly.
yeah, that's amazing. So, do you think this is forever for you?
Nothing's ever forever for us. We set off we said 3 to 5 years, and we in April we'll be a year in, and so we're still saying at least a couple more years. So I think probably minimum three. It could be longer. It just depends. And I like that we don't have to decide. There's no reason we have to decide. The day we look at each other and go, we're not having as much fun as we used to. It's time to find some place to settle down. Then we'll do it. And we're just kind of very open about that.
Now, have you stayed mainly on the East Coast, or have you gone like all over the
Well, we
country?
started out from Denver, so we kind of have the west, part of the West covered, but we have been mainly in the East this year. Well, last year, this whole year, but now right now we're in Mississippi, and then we're going to be headed back to Colorado via New Mexico for a while, and then back to Detroit, and then to Idaho next year for a rally, and then down to Palms. Well, we going to Palms somewhere south, and then back to Florida. So we're going to do a big loop next year. That's going to take us much further than we've gone this year.
Oh, wow. And during that, you're also doing GF Explorers, which explores gluten-free recipes. Like, tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we one of the things we decided we want to do when the business closed is we felt we had all this knowledge and all these recipes to share with the gluten-free community. So we started the YouTube channel in April of 21, I think, yeah,
Okay.
21, sharing recipes. And then when we started, we really got into planning for the RV life. We added RV videos too. So our channel is kind of dual. There's cooking and then there's RV life, but the umbrella is everything that obviously that I do is gluten free. So we're always, looking for, new gluten free foods, ways to cook food, restaurants to some degree. I mean, it's very hard for me to eat with the gluten and dairy free, but we find some
Sure.
out there and we like to talk about that. And, but so it's been really fun doing that. I love doing cooking videos. We love doing the RV videos, and then so we do that, and we have our the book business, Wolf Design and Marketing, and my Rich is the person who helps the authors get the books up to Amazon. I'm the one who does all the creative, the covers, the interior stuff like that. And then I also have I call it the art business that was supposed to be a business by now, but I haven't really painted much in the last year or so. That's a goal to get back into painting. So we're pretty busy. We work a lot, but we like
Um,
it that way.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're super busy. So let's say you decide to make this decision, like I'm going to live in an RV. What was the reaction you got, maybe from your children or family or friends, or like was everyone like, yeah, or were people like, what you thinking?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I can say that our son, he was like, "That's so cool," because and he's come out to visit us in Florida over Christmas, so he's benefiting from the, hey, they're in Florida, I'm going to go see them in Florida, and he thinks it's really cool. My mom was not. I mean, I think she was happy, but she was less happy that I wouldn't, I'd be gone for a year. It's going to be a full year that I have seen her, and that's going to be the last time it's that long. It'll
Yep.
be like every 6 months or so. But for friends and colleagues and stuff, most of them are like, "Oh my God, that is so cool." Some were like, "Well, how are you going to work?" So they needed to know that we had internet and things like that. But the majority of people they just think it's cool. And every time I get a new client, I make sure I let them know it's like, okay, this is what we do. Because I have
Hmm.
in my signature, it's like we're going to be here and we're going to be here, and I don't want people to think something weird's going on. So,
Yeah.
but they all think it's really cool, and I think it adds to both of our abilities to connect with our authors because we're having so many different experiences, and that
Yeah.
just keeps adding up and adding up. But haven't really didn't have anybody who said you're crazy. Nobody. Maybe they thought that, but they're like, no, I'm not going to tell her. She'll
They
figure
were
it out.
just too polite. They were too
Yeah,
polite. They were like, oh, we'll just let her figure that out. No,
yeah,
I think it's actually like fantasy fulfillment. It's kind of like when Liz Gilbert did Eat, Pray, Love. everybody like, the reaction was kind of like, people were like, oh my God, how could she just desert everything like that? But most of the women that I met were like, she's so smart. She hit the eject button, right? Like it was,
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
definitely one of those things. Um, so that's awesome. So now I have this question that I ask all of my podcasters, and that is, what is a weird habit or ritual you have that brings more joy into your life?
I'm going to answer that with that. I have quite a few habits and rituals. I will not say I have OCD, but I have certain things, and this kind of goes along with I have to have my stuff with me. I'm very spontaneous.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm very structured, and it's those structured things I think that bring me joy because they make my life make sense. Like
Yeah.
I put my makeup on in the same exact order every single time. I do not deviate. I take a shower in this, it's like, wash the face, do the hair, same exact order. There's a lot of things that I do same exact order every time. And I think that would probably be the best answer to that question. And
Uh,
that makes me happy because it brings me a sense of control, I guess. I don't know what it does.
there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I get that. I have a lot of rituals and stuff. My husband sometimes thinks I'm a little nuts, but it's okay.
Mine too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Victoria, it was an absolute pleasure having you. If you're out there and you'd like to follow Victoria's adventures as she zips through the country, you can check out her website at www.gfexplorers.com or find her on all major social media channels at GF Explorers. All links in the show notes below. As always, I'd love to hear from you about this episode. Have you ever wanted to hit the eject button? I get it. Hit me up on Instagram or Facebook at Farrah Haidar. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll get notified when a next episode is available. Also, I'm giving away a PDF of some of the best quotes you've had on the show, beautifully designed to print and journal your thoughts. Email me at farrah@farrahhaidar.com and title it Quotes. Talk to you soon. Till then, chase your happy.